Today, we follow the journalist who will expose Meghan's scheme to position herself as William's wife.
Recently, a press conference held by Angela Levin, the journalist known for chronicling the lives of the Sussexes, sent shockwaves with a single claim. Before becoming Harry's wife, Meghan Markle may have approached William first. An audio recording echoed through the press room, allegedly captured during preparations for a 2016 film press event. The female voice on the tape was unambiguous, explicitly mentioning waiting for William to appear and a carefully calculated fall. Less than 30 minutes later, Meghan's camp denied everything, suggesting the recording could be AI-generated or outright defamation. But the denial came without evidence, no proof, no technical breakdown, no counterweight strong enough to shut the story down. Then things began to escalate. A former secretary stepped forward, emails were produced, a seating chart was dragged back into the spotlight, and then the unthinkable happened. William spoke. As each piece was laid side by side, the story stopped being about a single audio clip and became something much bigger. One question rose above all others. If Meghan approached William first, then why did she end up marrying Harry? The moment Angela Levin walked into that private briefing room, something felt different. There was no book to promote, no upcoming release to tease, no reason for cameras to be there at all. And yet, the room was packed. Reporters leaned forward before she even spoke, sensing that whatever was coming wasn't routine. She didn't waste time with pleasantries, no warm-up, no soft entry. She stood straight, looked directly at the press, and said she was there to disclose information connected to Meghan Markle. Information dating back to before her marriage. And then she did something that froze the room. She asked for the speakers to be turned on. No explanation, no warning, just sound. A female voice filled the room, calm, direct, deliberate. Not joking, not playful, purposeful. The words were short, but the implication was explosive. Waiting for William, planning a fall, making sure he would remember her. You could feel the oxygen leave the room. Angela Levin didn't interrupt the audio. She let it play, let it sit, let the words sink into every corner of the space. And only after it ended did she speak again. She explained that the recording was allegedly captured during preparations for a 2016 film press event, at a time when Meghan Markle was still an actress, unmarried and publicly unconnected to Prince Harry. She didn't accuse, she didn't dramatize, she simply pointed out one detail that changed everything. The name in the recording was William, not Harry. That single detail cracked the fairy tale straight down the middle. Questions erupted instantly. Where did the recording come from? Who recorded it? Why now? Angela Levin didn't give long answers. She said the source would be clarified later. She said she stood by what she released, and then she walked out, leaving chaos behind her. Within minutes, the audio was everywhere. Headlines screamed, clips replayed, social media split down the center. Some called it outrageous, others called it overdue. And then, just 30 minutes later, Meghan's team responded. The denial came fast. Too fast. They claimed the voice couldn't be proven to be hers. They floated the idea of AI manipulation. They suggested defamation, but that was all they did. No expert report, no forensic breakdown, no proof, just possibility. And in the court of public opinion, possibility without evidence isn't a shield, it's gasoline. Instead of killing the story, the denial breathed life into it. People started asking the question Meghan's team didn't answer. If the recording was fake, why not prove it? Why stop at suggestion? Why leave the door open? Then the narrative shifted. Old appearances were re-examined. Events once brushed off as coincidence were suddenly placed under a magnifying glass. Meghan's proximity to royal-adjacent spaces. Her presence at certain gatherings. Nothing was proven, but suspicion doesn't need proof to grow. It just needs unanswered questions. And the biggest question of all refused to go away. Why William? Less than a day later, Angela Levin made her next move. Quietly. No press conference, no countdown. She uploaded a video to Platform X, simple framing, no edits, no drama, just Angela Levin seated beside a man whose face was fully visible. She introduced him plainly, Meghan Markle's former secretary. He didn't hesitate. He confirmed who he was and what he did. Scheduling, communications, daily instructions. He explained that during his time working for Meghan, he recorded instructions on his phone so he wouldn't miss details. One of those recordings, he said, was the audio Angela had played. And then he explained why he spoke now. He had been fired. Suddenly, no warning, no reason beyond not a good fit. And that silence, he said, was what broke his own. He wasn't seeking revenge, he insisted. He was refusing to stay quiet while being told what he personally witnessed never happened. Then came the email. Angela didn't summarize it, she showed it, sent from Meghan's personal email, time-stamped to the exact period before the 2016 press event. The wording wasn't vague, it wasn't speculative, it was directive. Instructions about approaching William and Harry. both names. That detail landed hard. This wasn't about a single person anymore. It wasn't about a single attempt. It was about access, strategy, options. Then came the seating chart. Meghan placed directly opposite Harry. Not a coincidence you expect for a supporting actress, not random placement. Angela didn't accuse Meghan of arranging it, but she asked the question everyone else was thinking. Why did everything line up so perfectly? The video ended without conclusion. No accusation, no verdict, and that restraint made it heavier. Because now the debate wasn't whether Angela Lean was biased. The debate was whether all of this could really be fabricated. Audio, emails, documents, without a single solid rebuttal. Meghan's team finally responded again, releasing behind-the-scenes footage from the 2016 event. Multiple angles, no stumble, no fall, no physical contact with William, and on the surface, it looked convincing. But it only answered one thing. It showed what didn't happen. It didn't explain what had been planned. And more importantly, it ignored the email entirely. No denial of the address, no challenge to the timestamp, no explanation for the instruction involving both brothers. That silence screamed louder than the footage ever could. Then something else resurfaced. A message Prince William posted in 2018 on Harry's wedding day. Simple, polite, but now reread with new eyes, it felt colder, measured, almost distant. No proof of intent, but perception doesn't need proof to shift. And then the palace spoke. One line. Prince William would speak the following day. That was enough. William didn't call a press conference. He didn't dramatize. He confirmed that Meghan had contacted him privately multiple times before the 2016 event. Messages, emails, initially professional, then not. He confirmed the wording. Request to talk privately, to meet without secretaries, to bypass official channels. He released screenshots. He confirmed he declined, repeatedly, and eventually contact stopped. Then came the part that changed everything. After that contact ended, Meghan appeared more frequently with Harry. William warned his brother. Harry didn't take it well, and from that moment on, the fracture deepened. William didn't accuse. He didn't speculate. He simply laid out the sequence, and restraint made it impossible to dismiss. Meghan responded again, this time with a written statement, carefully worded, no names, no screenshots, no documents, just explanation without confrontation. She called the messages social, claimed context was missing, said seating was handled by organizers, but again, the email went unaddressed, and the AI claim vanished completely. That's when perception hardened. Projects stalled, partners hesitated, no announcements, no headlines, just silence where opportunity used to be. Angela Lean stopped talking. Meghan stopped responding. No lawsuits, no cease and desist, no legal threats. And that absence became the loudest statement of all. The story didn't end with a verdict. It ended with acceptance. Not in courts, but in minds. The fairy tale fractured, the image shifted, and once public perception turns, it rarely turns back. Now the question isn't what happened. The question is what it means. Was it a mistake from the past, or a calculated move she never believed was wrong? That's for you to decide. And as the days stretched on, something even more unsettling settled in. The noise didn't grow louder. It faded. And in scandals like this, fading noise doesn't mean forgiveness. It means conclusions have already been drawn. People stop debating when they believe they already understand the ending. The outrage cooled, not because questions were answered, but because silence had done its work. Every time Meghan appeared in public after that, her presence carried weight it never had before. Not because anyone shouted accusations, but because nobody needed to. The context followed her quietly, like a shadow that didn't announce itself, but never left. Interviews that once would have centered on resilience or reinvention now felt careful, almost restrained, as if every word was being measured against what had already been said and what had never been denied. Harry, too, could not escape it. The image of a man who fought the world for love began to feel less heroic and more tragic. William's warning, once dismissed as interference, was reinterpreted as foresight. The brotherly rift no longer looked like pride versus protocol. It began to look like one brother trying to prevent a storm while the other refused to believe the clouds were real. That shift hurt Harry's image more deeply than any headline ever could. What lingered most wasn't the allegation itself, but the pattern. Every response had addressed what was easiest to deny. Footage answered visuals, statements answered tone, but documents, timelines, and intent were met with silence. And silence repeated often enough becomes a language of its own. People read into it whether that was fair or not. Media coverage adjusted accordingly. The phrasing changed, the energy softened. Stories were no longer framed as questions but as sequences. According to the timeline, following the confirmation, in light of what was stated, the tone didn't accuse, it assumed. And assumption is far more dangerous than accusation because it doesn't invite defense. In entertainment circles, doors didn't slam shut. They simply stopped opening. Emails went unanswered. Meetings were postponed indefinitely. Not canceled, postponed. That word became a quiet signal, a pause without promise, a delay without return. In industries driven by optics, uncertainty is treated like damage before damage even happens. On social media, the shift was unmistakable. Early arguments dissolved into certainty. Comment sections stopped asking, "Is this true?" and started saying, "We all know now." That's when reputations truly change. Not when people argue, but when they stop needing to. And still, there was no final act. No courtroom, no confession, no reconciliation, just distance. Measured appearances, carefully controlled visibility. Meghan didn't disappear, but she was no longer framed as someone rewriting her story. She was framed as someone living with one she could no longer control. Angela Lean never returned to add more. She didn't capitalize. She didn't escalate. And that restraint became its own punctuation mark. The story no longer belonged to her. It belonged to the public memory, shaped by what was revealed and, more powerfully, by what wasn't challenged. Time didn't heal the narrative, it cemented it. Because when questions remain unanswered long enough, people stop waiting for answers and start building their own truths. And once those truths settle, no statement can fully undo them. The fairy tale didn't end in flames. It faded, quietly, irreversibly. And that, more than any allegation, was the real fallout.